Hey guys, so for our lesson today, we are going to be doing lesson 101, which is factorable denominators. So we're solving with fractions here, but we are actually going to do a simpler way of finding a common denominator by factoring first. Miss Claire, are you ready?
What?
Miss Claire, what you doing over there?
I'm doing algebra.
That is
I'm
not.
doing algebra.
That is not algebra.
But it says it on the book. This doesn't count.
That doesn't count. It doesn't count.
Really? No.
Yeah, really? You need to follow along with me. Okay, so we are going to look, I've already kind of solved this problem, but I'm going to walk you through it. So they have given us a problem, so 6x over x squared minus x minus 12 minus p over x minus 4. So I am going to first, to make it easier to find a common denominator, I'm going to first take this and I'm going to factor this into binomials. So I'm going to factor this denominator here, okay? So when we do that, remember that we are looking for a number that multiplies together to give us this last term and adds together to give us this middle term. So we know that we'll have an x at the beginning of each. I know that factors of 12 are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. 3 and 4 are the only two terms that I could add together in some way to get a negative 1. So I'm going to use a 3 and a 4 here. And I need my signs to be different because it would have to be a negative 12 when we are multiplying them together. So my signs are going to be opposite. And because when they are added together, they give me a negative 1, that tells me that my 4 is going to be the negative number, and my 3 is going to be the positive number. Okay, so this is going to be my new denominator. I have rewritten it here. I've rewritten the problem with that as my denominator here. So now it's a little bit easier for us to find a common denominator because I know that my denominator for this fraction is x minus 4x plus 3. And my denominator for this fraction is just x minus 4. So I need this fraction to have an x plus 3, so that way they can have the same thing. Remember that what we do to the bottom, we must also do to the top. So I'm going to multiply this fraction by x plus 3 on the bottom. Also going to multiply the top by x plus 3. So I've done that here. This first fraction stays the same, right? I factored it. It's staying the same. This fraction, I have multiplied the top and the bottom by x plus 3, so that way we can have the same denominator here. So now we have the same denominator for both of our fractions, right? We know that when our denominators are the same, we can then combine our numerators. So before I combine my numerator over here, I'm going to take this p and I'm going to distribute it, right? So p times x is going to be px, and p times 3 is going to be 3p. So I've rewritten our answer here. So our this 6x is going to stay the same. And then we have minus px, which is this is where we got that from, right here. And then minus 3p, because this is a negative here, we're going to be subtracting both. So, and then I have refoiled my denominator. So remember, our FOIL method is first, outer, inner, and last. So we would multiply x times x, which would give us x squared. Outer, which is positive 3x. Inner, which is negative 4x. And then last, which is a negative 12. And we have combined the negative 4x and the positive 3x to get that negative 1x there. So our denominator is the same as what it started with here. And so that's one example. We're going to do a couple more together, and then I'll let you guys do some on your own. Okay, so let's look at another problem. So they've given us 7 over x squared minus 5x minus 6 minus 5 over x squared minus 6x. So let's first factor our denominators. So I'm looking for a product that will give me a negative 6, but also a sum that will give me a negative 5x. So I have written up here the products or the factors of 6. So 1 times negative 6 gives you negative 6. Negative 1 times 6 will give you a negative 6. Negative 2 times 3 gives you negative 6. And 2 times a negative 3 also gives you a negative 6. So which one of those would give us a negative 5x if we added them together? I think we're going to go with a negative 6 and a positive 1, right? If we added those two together, that would give us a negative 5. So I'm going to put, remember we have to put our x's at the beginning of each, a negative 6 and a positive 1. Remember, it does not matter which one is which, okay? Yes, Miss Claire.
Miss Mandy, I have my negative 6 and positive 1. See? He says, you stink. And the 1 says, thank you. Negative, positive. And then, oh, and I squared my x's. That's right? No? Oh.
That's not right at all. Keep trying. You're doing great.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so now let's factor out this denominator. I can't factor this into binomials, but I do have a common factor in each, which would be an x. So I'm going to take an x out of both of these, and I'm going to have an x minus 6 left over. Okay, so these will be my new denominators, and I've done that for you right here. I've rewritten those with these denominators. Now, I want to see what I could do to make them have the same denominator. They both have an x minus 6, so we're good there, okay? This one has an x plus 1, and this one has an x, okay? So I'm going to multiply this one, top and bottom, by the x, and then I'm going to multiply this by an x plus 1 on top and bottom, okay? So when we do that, I've done that for us right here. I multiplied the bottom here by an x and the top by an x. So now we have 7x as our numerator, and we have x times x minus 6, x plus 1 here. So that is now our common denominator. I multiplied this by x plus 1 on the top and on the bottom, okay? When we do that, remember we want to distribute this out. So we'll have 5x and a negative 5 because we have a negative sign right here. So when we do that, we've got, if you look at our numerator, we've got 7x minus 5x minus 5. Okay, that's our numerator. Remember, when we combine our like terms, we end up with just 2x minus 5, and our denominator is going to stay the same. You can FOIL this out, or you can just leave it factored. It's fine as well. Okay, one more problem, and then I'm going to let you guys do some on your own. So they have given us 4x plus 2 over x squared plus x minus 6 minus 4 over x squared plus 3x. So first thing I'm going to do, just like we did last time, we are going to factor our denominators. So this trinomial, we're going to factor into binomials. We have, these are the factors of negative 6. So we have 1 times negative 6 would give us negative 6, negative 1 times 6, negative 2 times 3, and 2 times negative 3. So remember, we want to find the two factors that are going to give us a positive 1 when we add them together. So that the only combination, that would be this -2 and this +3. So we're going to have an x at the beginning of each. I'm going to put +3 minus 2. Okay, that's going to be my denominator for this fraction. Over here, we're going to factor this one. The only thing I can factor out of these are both an x from both. So we're going to take an x out, and we're left with x here. And then this is just going to be a +3, right? Okay, so now I've rewritten our fractions with those as our denominators. Okay, now we can see what we're missing. So here we have x plus 3, x minus 2. And for this one, we have an x plus 3. So we're good there. But this one has an x, and it doesn't have an x minus 2. So we're going to multiply this fraction by top and bottom by x minus 2. And this fraction we're going to multiply by just an x on the top and the bottom. So I've done that here. So we've got an x on the top and on the bottom. So now we have a common denominator, correct? X times x plus 3, x minus 2 is the denominator for each. Okay, I've multiplied this one just by an x because that's the only thing that this fraction was missing. So when we distribute that x, we've got 4x squared plus 2x, okay? And that's what I've written right here. For this one, I was missing an x minus 2. So I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by x minus 2. And we're going to distribute that 4 to both. So 4x minus 8, or plus 8, sorry. So now I have distributed on both, and because we have a common denominator, I've just put everything on top of one fraction. So now we're going to see what we have that are like terms. Our like terms here would be this positive 2x and this negative 4x. Yes.
So I've combined my like terms. What do I do next? Like in English, a term, it's like a word for something. So it's the same algebra,
Totally
right?
different, Miss Claire. Totally different.
Like term? No. Okay. I'm gonna have to start over on that one.
We're gonna be busy in here, y'all.
Could you rewind yourself a little bit?
We're gonna be real busy. Real busy.
Sorry. Okay.
So our answer, once we have combined our like terms, which would be this positive 2x and this negative 4x, those are our only like terms in our numerator. That would give us a negative 2x when you combine those two. And so our new numerator will be 4x squared minus 2x plus 8. And then the denominator is factored. You can FOIL it. What you doing, Miss Claire?
Oh, I was foiling the problem. And this book is a problem, so that's what I'm gonna foil. Is that
Oh,
right?
we got a lot of work to do over here.
That's not what you meant?
Pray for me,
Not-
y'all. Pray for me. Pray for me.
Huh.
Let me go ahead and give you guys your assignment for today. So on page 428, you're going to do the practices A and B. There's 2 practice problems, A and B. Do both of them. And 428 through 429, you're going to do problems 7 through 14. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to call or text me. I would love to work with you over the phone if you need more help. Other than that, just send me a picture when you guys finish so that way I know that you're on the right track and that you understand everything. Other than that, have a good day. Bye.